We'll keep an eye on that. Hello, everybody. I am hoping this is now live on our Rachel John's Book Club Facebook group. I can't know for sure. No one has popped up yet. I know it's a busy night. There's a lot of things on tonight on the internet. I don't know if you guys have seen. I won't say what all the other things are on the internet because someone's just given us the thumbs up, which that means obviously good. We're live. Yes, we are. There's a lot of things on the internet tonight. So I know a few people already said that they couldn't make it. But the good thing about this is that we will later. We'll record it and it will be available for anyone to watch later. And I'll put it on YouTube as well. Hi, Kim. Hi, Yvonne. Hello, whoever Facebook user is. One quick housekeeping thing before we introduce the fabulous Alissa and get stuck into some great questions. We're using StreamYard tonight and streaming from StreamYard to the Facebook group. This means that unless you've given StreamYard permission to know who you are, then we can't know who you are. And it just says Facebook user. So someone said, yay, hi, Facebook user. I can't see who you are. If you want us to be able to see who you are, you do need to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and approve it. But there's a few author talks around. That's why we've got to get in fast. A couple are at 8 o'clock. And there's one happening right now, but the most important one is right here, right now with Alissa. And we've got 16 people watching, so thank you. So I'm just going to not going to give Alissa a huge welcome because I know you all know who she is. She's a fabulous Australian author of rural fiction, also a dear friend of mine. We've known each other since before published, do you think? I think it is.
Yep. It's too scary to think how long ago that was.
I know. I had babies and you had toddlers.
I know.
Wow. Now, all your kids are adults pretty much and mine are getting there. And so, we're really stoked to have you on. Everyone loved Snowy Mountain Daughters, I think, and found it really such a warm – what did you say, Anthea? Did you say it was a warm hug of a book?
Warm hug. It was just so lovely. It was lovely to read the community and the setting and, it really made me want to go to the mountains.
Oh, that's good.
Gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous.
So thank you. We've got lots of questions for you, and I know that anyone else who wants to ask a question, we will be asking the questions that people have already commented on in the group. I collated them this afternoon. But if anyone has a question they'd like to ask while we've got Alissa here, then just type it in the comments. As I mentioned, for anyone who's just joined us, if you do want us to be able to see who you are, I'm just going to give you an example. So here we go. I can put, hang on, Facebook
from the UK.
From the UK.
That's cool.
But we can't see who you are because you haven't told us, even though I can guess probably. And then we've got here Yvonne, who has gone into StreamYard/Facebook and approved her name, know who she is. So if you want to ask a question, you can remain anonymous, or you can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and approve, and then we'll be able to see who it is. Someone is saying they want a primrose. Anyway, we'll get to that discussion.
How gorgeous for the dogs in this week.
Hi to everyone who's joined us, and thank you again. Here we go. My first. I think I've done the housekeeping, and we've talked about StreamYard. So I think it's over to you, Anthea, to start our questions of the night.
Yes. Now I've got just a general rural romance question. Then I've got a very specific one, which makes me think there's a story attached. So I hope it's not too personal, Alissa. Ooh. But my first general question is, there's quite a few people who have been writing in rural romance in the area. What was it that attracted you to rurals? Why have you found your feet there and had such success there, do you think?
If I could, I would turn my camera so you could see out my door.
Yeah.
We use our imaginations.
You're living rurally, I'm imagining.
Yes, we live on a small farm in the beautiful Central West, and I would have a Kelpie who's outside my door at the moment, and I'm hoping my daughter doesn't drive home because then you'll hear all my dogs barking. So we live on a small farm. Yeah, they'll be barking. So basically, I live rural. So my rural life basically makes it into my stories. It doesn't matter if I write in an American setting or a UK setting. I just love small towns. And so I've always that's where I grew up. That's what I love living in. And so that's basically what I write about. So it's very sort of personal, I guess, because this is where I am. It's my life. And I think not so much this book, but a lot of, if anyone has read the Red Dirt Road, basically every single bit of broken bone in there is my son going to the emergency department from riding motorbikes on our farm.
Ah,
So basically, and my husband laughs the whole way through. He goes, "You can't put that in a book." But basically, a lot of the stuff that happens, even his offset plow breaking all the time, goes into the book. So basically, the town is fictional, the landscape is authentic, and then the stories are just pure imagination. So I write rural because basically I'm surrounded by inspiration, and I just love small towns and rural life, and that's just what I write. So,
you did such a beautiful job of it. I've also got a secondary question here, which is, can you tell us a story about how you met your hubby?
It's probably not very romantic or glamorous, really, because
often the way.
It is. So basically, I grew up on a farm at Tamworth, and being a small town girl, I didn't want to go very far to university, so I went a whole hour and a half to Armidale, which is University of New England. So I could come home every weekend and ride my horse. So basically, I went to uni, and I was at uni several years before my husband actually started. So there's a three-year age gap. Hi, Susie. I'm an hour and 20 minutes from Mudgee because I went there 2 days ago. And I love Mudgee. And here's a little bit of a spoiler. Even though Snowy Mountain's Daughter is set in the beautiful Snowy Mountains, the town that I actually based it on is Mudgee, because I go there a lot. And I wanted a town where I could go and I can go and do research. I love going to the mountains, but it is
very wise.
It's only 8 hours away. So to go to Mudgee, I just pop over to Mudgee very regularly. So
gorgeous. What a lovely town too. I feel like you must have spent time in the mountains though.
Yes, my parents have a small farm down on the border in Victoria, and I love the mountains, and I go there as much as I can. But I was just going back because I haven't answered the question really about my husband. And then I finished uni, and he was still there. So I went overseas, and I worked and travelled and did a lot of small town stuff. And one day I'll write a Scottish book. That's my Scottish Highland cow in the background. So I sort of just travelled and worked and did a lot of I lived in country or rural UK. And I came back, and he was still at uni because he was doing economics. So I went back to uni for one more year. And then
you're a well-educated family.
Yes,
and very dedicated to
we finished, and we got married the year after he finished uni. So there's a 3-year age gap difference. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous.
So he's younger than you, Alissa?
Yes, and we got married. If anyone knows Armidale and Uralla, we got married in the Goswick Chapel, and it's the most beautiful little tiny chapel, absolutely minute, covered in red Virginia creeper. So if anyone's from the New England area, it's just beautiful. So it's this lovely idyllic country church, and we made sure that our wedding wasn't huge, but we still had plenty of people. And we said, the church is really small. And they said, it's okay. So basically half the guests stayed outside because they didn't want to take up all the room. And we had all these spare seats down the front. So it was quite funny. Everyone was being really kind accommodation. So, so we got married in a country area. And
that's
27 years next week, or the 23rd.
That's hilarious.
Wow. Well, you're well qualified for rural romance with that story.
Yes.
That's why I related the book was similar to Mudgee. And I've got a couple of comments to say on that. I wondered too, because I've been to Mudgee just once, very briefly, not for the book festival or the Readers and Writers Festival. If anyone from Mudgee, tell them I want to go. I'm happy for invitation. So is Anthea. But I did once years ago and did a library talk, and so I was literally there for I think not even a night. And just fell in love with it. At the time, there wasn't a bookshop there, but I believe there is now. And I remember
it's called the Book Nest. And Portia, who actually runs the festival, she set it up. And I went to Book Nest the other day, and it's lovely.
You need a book town. You need a bookshop. But I love that as well. And I've forgotten the other question I was going to say, but I think we've got a couple of people commenting that. Someone said here, and as Tracy's reminded everyone in the comments, you do need to log on to StreamYard and approve yourself if you want us to be able to see who you are. So we don't know who this is, but just a lovely comment. You're one of my favourite authors. Your book's the best, and she's also finished reading mine. So thank you. Okay, we've got another question. I think it's my turn now. Your writing process. I know readers often like to know about how a writer writes a book as well, but I'm always curious because I have no idea how it happens. Like, still, I just somehow each time. So I'm just curious. Yeah, what's your writing process a little bit like? Can you tell us? And also, do you know like certain things along the way? And this is not a spoiler-free zone. I should have said that earlier. We are open to spoilers because people who have listened hopefully have read Snow Mountain Daughter. So if you haven't and you don't want spoilers, maybe log off now and not watch later. But like Heath's father, which I thought was a great twist. I'm really glad that it wasn't that that his mum had an affair with someone. You know, I thought there was a few red herrings going that way. So I loved that twist because it was a bit different. Did you know that before you started? So yeah, that's kind of a couple of questions. What's your process and how much do you know before you start writing?
See, my hair's getting very thin. This is my process. So basically what happens is I'm sort of, I guess I'm a hybrid. I'm not a plotter and I'm not a pantster, but I'm sort of in the middle. So I plot in very broad strokes. And then as I start writing, I start making sort of detours that sometimes don't go anywhere until I get to the end. Pronunciation debate.
That's all right. So I'll just put that up there quickly in the middle of the question since Kelly has to leave. We were all wondering how you say peony. Is it peony, peony? Yeah.
I say peony, but then someone else said it the other day. I just say peony, so I might or might not be wrong. But
awesome. We'll go with you because you're the expert. We think in this area.
It's your book, your world.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing that I sort of, I guess. So I'm sort of in the middle of planting and plotting, but I think, and I do have a confession to make, that I actually always read the ending of a book first. So if I'm reading, I read the ending first.
Rachael, reading habits, because I don't mind spoilers. We've never actually talked about whether people read the ending first, which interesting.
I do. So, but then I write my ending last, but I always know what's going to happen. So I think before I start writing, I have to have basically my broad outline, and that will have it will have my characters, my setting, my conflicts, and it will have sort of the ending. So I do know where I'm going, but then sometimes I do take lots of detours to get there. So I think the thing is with, I think it's interesting because with this book, I did actually start out, that was I suppose my premise was that I wanted the Heath to be the grandson, spoiler alert, because I actually come from a very large family, same parents, 7 children, over 20 years. And so when I was at university meeting my husband, like I was 21, my mum had a baby and everyone thought that he was mine and my sister's. And I was going, no. So that whole concept of sort of having 20 years difference, but then I sort of thought, what happens if my brother wasn't my brother? So that sort of got me thinking. He absolutely is, and he's actually a little bit like you were saying, your son. He's my brother's got red hair, and it's short at the moment, but when he was young, it was long. But it was just sort of that interesting concept that we're actually one big family over 20 years, but there's micro families within that 20 years. So that got me thinking about the dynamics of what would happen if there was a child later in life, and that child actually wasn't biologically the parent, that was their grandchild. So I did have that. That was my sort of where I was heading towards. The bit about the dementia, that was a bit of a detour because, and that's probably a bit more of an example of how my real life comes into my books. So probably, I think the Red Dirt Road, again, that's also my DNA book, that we had a missing branch of our family tree, and we spent decades trying to find it. And then, of course, DNA arrived. And so we did DNA tests and we actually found that missing branch. So that was really exciting. And there was a dementia thread in there. And there's no other dementia in my family. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. I was a bit curious. So if anyone is caring for anyone with dementia or interested, the University of Tasmania has 3 courses through their Wicking Institute, and you can do them online. So I thought, just from pure interest, I would do these dementia courses. And so I did them, and they were interesting. And then I'm writing, and then I suddenly had the detour where the father started having dementia. So I thought that was really interesting because I didn't actually plan that bit. It sort of happened organically as I went.
Some things happen organically and they work out well, and I think that gave you know a lot of drama and reasons why things happened, and also so I think that worked very well, isn't it? It's the best way.
Yeah, it brought that relationship to a head, didn't it? They had to resolve.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Alison says,
Alison couldn't read the ending first and she doesn't like spoilers. A lot of lovely comments about your book.
Thank you.
And the cover. It is a beautiful cover. And if anyone hasn't noticed, the cover also has it took me a while to notice this, but I did notice. I don't know if I can show online here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's it on Anthea's. Yeah. I could see it when you held it up. There's some flowers in the light.
An angle. Yeah, you can see sort of flowers etched in, which is such a beautiful touch.
Yes, I noticed.
Here's a bit more on Michelle has said it, love the flowers on the cover that if you shine the light you see. Are they peonies? She wants to know. I can't say that.
I'm just knocking down my display. I'm not sure if that I think they are. They're very they've got lots of petals. They're beautiful. And peonies come in different. You can have sort of the more, I guess, crepe papery ones or the more smooth ones. So I'd like to think that the ones on the book are the sort of the smooth, sort of like teacups, those type of flowers.
Awesome. And this is an interesting family story. I have a 12-year-old, not biologically my own, and my 20-year-old daughter often thinks people think it's her child when they're together.
Yeah.
Yes, I can
That's
imagine.
exactly. I know that. I know what that feeling. Yeah. And my sister's there's 14 months between my sister and I. So my sister would be pushing the pram around Tamworth and where I grew up, and it would be country music festival, and everyone would be going, "Oh, your baby's so nice," and my sister would look at each other and go, "No."
Oh, that's hilarious. I agree with Tracy that the dementia aspect felt like it was always meant to be there.
Yeah.
And I think the things that people, I shared a post that someone in this group actually shared the other night. So a lot of people have been sharing it recently from Diana Gabaldon. I don't know if you saw that, Alissa or Anthea.
Yeah,
about
and the piles of books. Yeah,
and the different the amount of times we rewrite books, and that those sort of things they come along the stage, and then the next sort of rewrite you have to kind of make them like they're supposed to be there, so that by the time you go through edit, they feel seamless. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
But I must also confess, with this book, I was running really, really late for my deadline. So this was done, and then that was it.
I'm sure you had to do edits with the publisher though.
I did do edits, but I probably I wouldn't change any of it because I really love writing that story. But I think in a way, in a perfect world, I would not run so close to my deadline. So then I would have time to go back and weave it all in a little bit more. But so for this book, it was.
I think it felt weird. So
thank you.
That's right. Well, so it doesn't finish on the page at all. How long is it taking you to write each novel, Alissa? Is it 3 months or a 6 months process? Like, what's your time structure for writing?
I think it's confession time tonight. That one, and it's not because I'm not writing. I just had a lot in my real life. Why I had 4 kids, I have no idea.
I wanted that daily about 3.
Example for me.
So I think that's the thing. So I think my real life, we also had a drought and dust storm. So there was a lot of stuff happening in my non-writing world. So it wasn't that I deliberately left my book too late. So that one was
life just in the way sometimes.
And I said, I'm never doing that again. And then 2020 rolls around, and my husband had a bit of a health scare, and then it's just been full on. And then I went, okay, time to write my book. So I just wrote the last book in 2 months, and I am never, that's why my hair's falling out, I am never doing that again, ever.
I did the same. It'll be interesting. I know you're waiting still, Alissa, to hear back from the publisher, so hopefully you have better news than me, because I did the same. I wrote my last book in 8 weeks, which is basically the same, over Christmas and school holidays. Just because people know that I just had a couple of false starts and that. So I did have to do some quite heavy rewrites, but it is definitely, hopefully, going to be better because of it. Anthea, have you got another question?
Well, there was a lot of interest, and I was quite interested in it as well. But I think it was Michelle Elliott who was talking about the banks of the Seine. We were quite taken with her book club book, Alissa. And in my mind, I wondered perhaps if the two little ladies in the bookshop, if they had written that book, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah.
Can you
that
tell
was
us that book? Does it exist?
that was a lovely twist. No, to be honest, I deliberately made it fictional because I didn't want, because some of the characters in the book didn't like it, and I didn't want a real author to go, oh no. I was Googling books on Paris, and do you know how many there are? And I was trying to find a title that no one else had about Paris. So, but I think in the editing process, it was suggested I make it a real book, and then I thought no, because my luck, there'll be some author, and I would have been, dishing their book. So no, it is.
Made it. We could have done what we didn't do it exactly, but we talked about. You should. I was going to say, at one, you should write the book. Two, you could have done a book of someone who's dead. Like we did the Thornbirds last year for book club.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could never read it before.
Oh, and
we could be completely honest with that book. Not that we're not completely honest always, but we are always mindful that the people we write, we don't want to diss the book, and everyone doesn't like everything about it. So we try to critique in a nice way if we say anything that we're not 100%, into. But because Colleen is dead. And hey, she's
really there and she's dead. So we felt
I mean, she might come back and haunt us. Hey, Anthea, or whatever. It was really good.
Wasn't she a neurologist? Her brain is probably somewhere waiting to be reanimated.
Oh dear, watch out. We have to watch out. So yeah, it was a really interesting part of the book, and we all wondered. I forgot. Usually I would have Googled, but I forgot to actually ask about that. And I love that Anthea thought the sisters may have written it. That would have been a funny twist.
that would have been really good. But I'm not sure. I did actually think along those lines, but then I didn't. I sort of wanted. I guess the next book actually has a lot more book stuff in it, and so I sort of thought this one was sort of the introduction to the town, and then the book festival, and so it's a bit more booky. This next book.
Oh, I can't wait.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to ask you some more questions about that and what you tell us. And there's a few questions that people are coming, but I'm just saying I'm watching your questions, everyone, and we will get to them. And we've got some of them are ones we've already got. So hopefully we'll get to everything. So Alison wanted to know, were any of your characters based on anyone you know?
No, I think that's the thing is that I didn't tell my family for a long time that I wrote, and then when I told them, my mum binge read all my books, and then she worked out. She said, "Oh, you wrote this about this person."
Really?
I'm going, no.
So you were told before they knew.
Yes, I didn't tell them. I'm that writer that sits in my office with my Highland cow typing away. So
I never knew that. That's interesting.
So they didn't know, but I think the thing is, I think the thing is that I'm very careful. I mean, as I said, the landscape is authentic. The towns sort of are based on real towns. They have a thank you. They have a name that's fictional. But I think the thing is that I'm very careful about people because it will just be my luck, Murphy's Law, that I write a character that's not very like his father, and then my mother will go, who did you base that on? So I think I'm very careful that it is my pure imagination. I am fascinated by people, and I'm probably sort of absorbing lots of stuff from lots of people, but the person that it becomes is someone who is fictional. So, and I love people watching. My kids are always like, Mum, stop staring. Like,
oh, mine too.
I've got really nice cowboy boots on, and they're like, Mum, stop it. So I think I see inspiration, and I weave it all together to have my characters.
I hope you can't hear my dog. I'm sorry if you do, but I have to say my she's going off. Someone's probably daring to walk past the house. But my kids get so annoyed. Like we'll be driving along the road and I'll see someone digging a hole out in their front garden, and I'll be like, "Ooh, I wonder what they're digging a hole for. Maybe they're planting something, but maybe they're digging a dead body, And they're like, oh, that'd be so stupid. Why do you even care? Why are you watching that person?" So, kids get sick of us, don't they? And I think Anthony's got fun questions next.
Well, I really liked because I'm a dog person, so I really love. You did represent cats. You had a cat. I thought that was ample, but you did have a lot of dogs, and I was very pleased to see the dogs. Now, what with Bundy? Were you thinking about Red Dog at all, or was that just unrelated, and you just thought we'll go with Kelpie?
Well, the thing is, there's another confession. I've actually never watched Red Dog or read the book. My kids have, so I'm probably the only person in Australia who hasn't.
Read the book.
Okay, but he is actually inspired by a real dog, and his name. Long story short, I was in Adelaide I think it's the State Library, and if anyone likes Harry Potter, there's the most beautiful wing, the Mortlock wing, I think, and it's got it looks like a Harry Potter sort of type. It's got wooden beams and libraries. It's beautiful if you Google. And when you walk in, they had this life-size cutout of this grainy black and white photo, and it was of a dog, really scruffy, and he was called Bob the Railway Dog. So a bit like what Rachel was saying, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to Google, and my kids are like, Mum, really? We've got to move through the library. Can you just not stand there? So I'm Googling about this dog, and his name was Bob the Railway Dog, and he's an actual true dog. In the 1800s, he lived around Adelaide, but he jumped on the trains, and he'd go up and down the train lines, and he would go and stay with anybody, visit everyone. So I thought that to me was the inspiration. I thought, what a great idea. So he is real, Bob the Railway Dog, 1800s around Adelaide. So but he was the inspiration. And I've also had some people ask or through Facebook, where did I get his name from? And my son, who's obviously likes going out a lot, said, oh, Mum, you made it after Bundy Rum. I said, I did not call the dog after Bundy Rum.
I thought you did after Bundy Rum.
Bundy Rum. But I guess I love words, and I guess I do like patterns. So if anyone's read my Woodley books, it's Woodley's the town of windmills. And so when I came to do my new series, I was thinking, okay, and I wanted to do books. If anyone's been to Clunes in Victoria or in another life, it seems like Hay on Wye over on the English-Welsh border in the UK. So I love book towns. So I knew I wanted to do book town, and then I thought, okay, I need a town that starts with B. And then I thought, I have to have a name that I can shorten to a dog's name. So it probably spent me like hours trying to come up with this name, but it all worked together. So I wanted one that went with Booktown, and so Bundy's because he's shortened from Bundilla. But yeah, my son, he says,
I've twigged on that. I was thinking of Bundy.
I'm the same as Anthea, even though now as you're talking, I don't think I'd even twigged that it was Bundilla, not Bundaberg, even though of course Bundaberg's a real place, so you couldn't have, on that name exactly. But yeah, there was a few. Was there any more questions about Red Dog? I mean, not Red Dog, about the dog, Anthea?
Well, the beautiful dogs at the that they say the rescue dogs, were they based on dogs? I thought they were gorgeous, and I loved the idea of taking the mum and the pup. I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, so actually that is true, my real life. So we already had 3 dogs, and we live on a farm. We have an electric gate. We have fences the whole way around, and one day we did have a big storm, and I opened my door, and there was a dog on my dog bed, and it wasn't ours, and she was the most beautiful Kelpie. She was not microchipped, so legally in New South Wales you have to take them somewhere, so we took them to the RSPCA. If she was microchipped, I think there's 2 weeks until the owner can claim them. She was not microchipped, and so they had a week, and then I put her on the Facebook groups. I did it over the radio. No one claimed this beautiful dog. And when we took her, we left a note. We said, if you can't rehome her, we would love to adopt her. And they said Kelpies were actually really hard to rehome for some reason. And so we ended up with her. And she is the most beautiful dog. So she was sort of a rescue dog that just turned up. And she is the best teenage uni student alarm clock. She sneaks in. She's not allowed inside, really. So you open the door and she sneaks in, runs down to the rooms, and then she jumps on the bed, but she tucks her head up here, and then she wiggles. And so whoever's asleep gets woken up. But she is, we just feel really thankful and grateful that she just turned up and no one else claimed her, because she is the most beautiful dog. But I think we've also had a cat turn up. There you go, Anthea. We're
getting a reputation for local animals.
I know. We had a goat. We had a wild goat turn up in our forest at the front. So we do have a few things.
Wow.
But we still, to this day, we don't know how she came in, because she is a little bit, she's just a bit of a klutz, really, and she can't, Kelpies jump. She can jump on the back of the ute. She can't jump over the fence. She can't even go through like half the gate. So we don't know how she actually got into us, because she can't get out. So we don't know. But I think that's lovely. And my 2 daughters love, they love rescuing animals. And if I'm just trying to think, we did actually have another dog that was a rescue dog. So yes, we do. And but we've never had a golden retriever, but I've got friends who have them, and they're just beautiful. Because your possum's lovely. All your photos of possum in the lab. Yeah.
She's actually having a snooze next to me at the moment. She's lovely, gentle dog. But you're so lucky that you've got the farm there, because it's perfect for a Kelpie. being so active.
She's
Ideal.
just she's just, I think that's the thing, except she's frightened of the cows, so we don't know. Yeah, she's frightened of the cows. She loves the mini pony. She'll herd the mini pony and the horses, but yeah, I think she just loves my kids so much, and I think that's where she's the most beautiful. We just love her, and she's not sort of, yeah, I guess she's a pet, not a working dog. So and I think I was just seeing a comment about a dog following. I went to so if anyone knows the Central West, I went to a little town called Carcool, which is a gold rush town, and I did some research about 2 weeks ago, and I was walking down the street, and I've never had it happen before, but it was a cat. It followed me along the whole main street. So I'm going to put that in a book. So
definitely,
cat. It was just followed.
As well.
Yeah, my cat goes for a walk. It's very annoying, actually. Anthea's heard me sometimes yelling and screaming.
Hilarious, isn't it?
I take my old dog who's got arthritis and can't walk far, and the cat will come with us. And I don't want him to come with us because he is the most. He's got personality, and he will attack other dogs that come. So because his dog he's in charge of his dog, and the dog, wouldn't dare do anything to him, that all other dogs will be safe. And once he tried to attack this like American bull mastiff type, really scared, and it was very stressful for both me and my poor dog who loves the cat. So I try, and now if I take the dog out, I make the kids like put the cat in the room for a second. But the cat seems to know and then finds a way to escape and catches up with us. It's very stressful for both me and Rose. We should probably move on from dog questions, although someone did want to know if Bundy will keep appearing, but I'm guessing he would.
He does, and I think someone said that before. He does. He sort of he finds someone who needs him. He goes there. So basically, bit of a spoiler for the next book, but my heroine is a city girl. She turns up. She's grieving, and she makes a stop in Bundilla for coffee, wine, whatever her list was the keys, food and wine, and she turns up in her car. And there's a Kelpie standing there, and so that's how he finds her, and then the book is so he goes to whoever, so and then the hero is Rowan, so out of Snowy Mountain's daughter.
Rowan, okay,
cattleman / stonemason. So but Bundy, he does, he goes to whoever needs him.
So we were going to talk about some characters later and secondary characters, but I'm sure whoever that said that will be happy to hear that Rowan will be in the story soon. I'm just going to see if there's any more things we need to ask on the side. Now, I just want to talk about your characters because I love different careers, kind of careers. I mean, as I said, I've had a taxidermist, hot air balloonist, a few different things, a violinist. I love things that are slightly, not what we always read about. Nothing against nurses and doctors and teachers and all that, but I like I like experiencing something new myself. Anthea and I are both a bit cranky that you did a mural painter. We met a lovely mural painter on our trip, which we talked about the book.
Did you? I'm sure I'm sure they're fabulous.
He was amazing, and so I thought, that's a great idea for a story, and then you wrote it. So,
But I did a water tower. Because it was funny because I wanted to do a wheat tower, but because I did the Snowy Mountains, the wheat belt doesn't go that far. It only goes to Wagga. So I thought, what am I going to do?
Water tower rather than silos, but of course that makes sense. Yeah. Definitely. Well, this guy that we saw, he was actually doing one in town on the side of the IGA in Wangerup, which is south of Perth. Very south. And I also loved, obviously, your flower farm, and so did we have a question. Carolyn asked, where did you get your idea for a flower farm, and why did you choose peonies? Did I say that right?
Yes.
So, I'm curious where the inspiration for both characters' careers came from.
Yeah. So basically, I cannot draw to save myself. I am so not artistic. And, that's great. And then my daughter is an artist, or she draws, and then two of my aunts are artists. So we sort of have art in the family, but I am so unartistic. I miss that gene, obviously. So I think art's always been there, and I think there's something about every time I go past a silo, it's like there's a blank canvas, and there's so many silos here that don't have anything on them. And I think once it was Griffiths was the first place I saw an actual silo. I've seen everything on social media, but when I actually stood and I looked at the size and the scope, it was just fascinating. So I sort of thought, that's something that I didn't plan. I sort of wanted to do it art, but then after I saw the solo, it sort of all dovetailed together nicely. But I think that's the thing. So it was sort of, it was something that there's lots of art in my family. So I just really, it was something that sort of melded together. And then for the peonies, I just love flowers. Unfortunately, we've had drought and now we've had lots of rain. So I do probably have a few roses, but my garden is very overgrown. If anyone knows, so we call them farmers' friends or sticky beaks, and they're those birds, and they're actually bigger than my mini pony at the moment. So my garden, apart from the green lawns, is very overgrown, and I have to get it back under control. So not many flowers in my garden, but I love flowers. Fake peonies here somewhere. I can.
Oh, cool.
Fake peonies.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's
so I just love flowers, and that's another thing that I personally really liked, and I wanted to put in the book. And there is actually a flower farm at Tumut. And then also when I used to live in Armidale, there's actually, because they're cold climates, there's peony farm up there as well. So it's just, I sort of seen them, and I wanted a cold climate flower farm, and it just sort of all fitted together, and I would love to grow them. So if I ever live anywhere besides hot Dubbo, I'll be trying to plant peonies because I think they're just beautiful.
They are. They're amazing flowers. Did you spend time with a mural artist when you decided to do the mural thing?
No, I think the thing is, there's probably not one. I should have come with you on your road trip.
It's very specific thing, because they only sort of pop up and then
I know. So they're just sort of like, if there was one painting, I'd probably be that embarrassing mother that would go up and start talking to them. But I think I did ask my daughter, who is artistic, and I asked her some questions, and and I think I probably should have told, if there was someone available, I would have, but there wasn't anybody who was painting.
It's such an interesting life, though, mustn't it? Just booking in, I must be over in Wagga or wherever, and then I've got to go to, Hamilton Island or, amazing life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think you've answered a question that Anthea was going to have next about whether you're a gardener or not.
That's your garden. We were wondering if you're a keen gardener, but it sounds like
my mother has beautiful gardens, and then my daughter, so my daughter who's at university in Canberra, she, anyway, one of the non-writing things that sort of happens out of my pages, she won't mind me saying this, she's probably not the most coordinated, sporty child. She bought a skateboard. Yes, and so now we have a broken ankle that's snapped, and we have plates and we have pins. And so we're now 5 weeks into non-weight bearing. But you know what she loves? She loves plants. So she has this tiny little apartment where she's a uni student, and it's like a greenhouse. So she loves, so my mum has been very kind as been driving her everywhere. So they go and they just buy plants the whole time. So my mum gardens, and my daughter just puts more pot plants in her house. So there are green thumbs in the family.
She'd totally be a green thumb when she can.
Yeah, I like the idea of gardening, but not the actual doing of the gardening. I like the pretty garden that's done. Do it for me.
Yeah, I love open gardens. So if there's an open garden, I always go and see them. But we have a very large country garden. The plan was to do an inner garden, which was fine. And then we have the outer garden we call the Never Never, because no one ever goes there. And it's just got birds and usually runaway animals. So I do like my roses.
In a garden.
Yeah, I do like my roses. So that's often, I do have roses in the house. So my rose garden somehow survives. So, but I really love flowers. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Geraldine has an interesting question. Will there be any books set in the winter time with snowfall?
You know what? I mean, apart from, I love the mountains, and also because my family have a farm down there. But because my books are very much what's happening in my real world, if anyone's read the Boundary Fence, that's my dust storm drought book, because that's what was happening here. I think half of our back paddock was in my house, so I was just.
There's no snow in your life.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to go somewhere because I love snow, and I've been lucky enough to have lived where it has snowed, and so I thought, okay, my next book, where am I going to go? And I wanted to go somewhere where it rained, and I really wanted to do a snow story. So it sounds silly, but one of the motivations behind the whole series was I want to do a winter snow book, and I'm so excited because it's the one I'm writing now. So yeah, so I'm just it's winter snow. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Anthea, over to you for another.
Well, just in terms of, because I think we'll probably have to wind up soon, but just in terms of, we've been talking about Rowan's got the next book.
Yes.
Have you planned out, because I felt there are tons of attractive young people in this town and I want to see them all married. So
I've got some questions up here
have you
as well.
planned out 3 or 2 series of 3, or what? Do you have a plan for what you're going to do with town?
So I was contracted for 4 books. So the thing is, 2 are done. So I've got 2 more. That will be Tate, and it will be Brenna's story. And she does need a man who rides horses. But for Brenna, he's going to be a city boy in a suit. But he will fool her because she won't actually realise that he can ride a horse. So I have actually planned the next 2 books. But that detours that I talked about. So in Rowan's story, the heroine is the interior designer. She comes to town and she actually has a city friend, and she's sort of muscled in on the whole book. So now I've got another character that I think is going to be a story.
Oh, that's great.
Her name's Aubrey, and she just appeared on the page, and I was like, "Can you?" So
Good
I think
honor.
it was a 4-book series, and who knows? Hopefully she will have a story too. But definitely, Rowan will be next. Then Tate, which will be my winter snow book, and then it will be Brenna last.
Oh, how fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. You enjoy writing them in a series, or do you find it challenging, or you feel comfort from knowing where you're going with it?
Yeah, I think I tend to write in series, and I think I really love that because I think the world's familiar, and I think when you create the world, it's good to sort of then stay inhabit it for a little while. And I find I guess that's just how my brain works. But I guess readers might get series fatigue, and author might get series fatigue. So there will come a time when you have to change it up a little bit. But I'm just so excited to be writing the Snowy Mountains. It'll be like my publisher will be going, "Can you please leave? Can you please do something else?" But I think that's the thing. It's a 4-book series, and whether or not it goes any longer, I don't know. But I think I just really like series, and I just like going back and the characters. And I think I do have a couple of books, probably more the American ones, where there's only 1 book, but I've already mentally planned 2 or 3 more. So I think my brain just works in series. We'll just see where that all goes. So, but 4 books at the moment.
Well, it was so lovely to read. I kept saying to Rachael, I just really want to book a holiday and go. It was just such a lovely setting. And the town that you created there and the community was so beautiful as well, which is why one of the things I love about rural. But just the scenery and the idea that they were riding out to the hut and all that sort of stuff was just so beautiful. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and as Alissa knows, because I've been having to ruralify my book a little bit more because I'm writing a book about the publican and someone who's come back to town for a while, and there's not really much farm stuff. I was very aware of all your beautiful sort of the stuff that was happening in the community, and that's what I love about rural romance. As much as I love hearing about people actually working the land, I really love the community aspect. So it was really good.
I think, and I think I sort of write what I know. I think someone else had asked me this question, and to give an example, but I think, so once we had a fire in our front paddock. We had no idea. Our neighbour saw it, and they drove the whole way round to come and tell us that we had a fire. We had, I'm just trying to think, my husband, well, technically, he says it was the children. So my teenage boys technically bowled the 2 utes and the tractor. He wasn't involved. So then our neighbour had to drive their tractor over to pull out the utes. And so I think it's just this whole community, and it's just lovely because everyone looks out for each other. And I think that's where I just love that. It's sort of what we live, I guess. I sort of really, and I guess in a way it's sort of paying homage, or it's sort of, it's just, I really appreciate living in a community where everyone looks out for each other. And I think, I'm just trying to think of other examples, but there's lots of where people just, people just help it, that kindness and that paying it forward. And I think there's so much, particularly at the moment, real life sometimes is not always, it doesn't always go to plan. So I think it's nice to read a book where there is that sort of close-knit community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I think we are going to have to wrap up in a moment. So if anyone, I think I've seen everyone's comments on the side and any questions. But if anyone's got any more questions, now is your time to ask or forever hold your peace. Okay. So I have one more question from Jess, who asked, what is the favourite book of yours you've ever written? And I'm going to add to that and say why. And it's so funny. I'm just going to say, I mentioned on the weekend when I was when Anthea and I were chatting that I'm sure I mentioned this here. I've mentioned it everywhere lately that I've been listening to a podcast called Friends and Fiction.
Yeah, this looks like it sounds like
and it's a really great podcast with 5 US authors who are talking to different authors all the time. And I just listened this morning when I was out running, and they were talking to Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who, has written a lot of books and been very successful. And the question they were all asking each other, because they do different sort of questions each time, and I really enjoy that. The question was, what's your favourite book and why? And they all went through their favourite hero and heroine and why. They all went through theirs. And then Susan Elizabeth Phillips, she's hilarious. She told them all off. She said, they're terrible book mothers because you should love them all equally. And you must be terrible mothers as well, because otherwise, it's very funny. But so that was so yeah. I'm going to ask you the question.
Now, having done that, now you're going to ask Alissa.
That's okay, because I have been asked that question before, and I'll say the same thing. So I'm not sort of stealing Susan's line, but it was like saying it's like choosing a favourite child. I can't do that. So I think, but to be honest, I think my favourite book in the moment is always the one where I get to type the end, because I think I'm just so relieved that it's over and I've got there. So that's my favourite book until edits come back, and then it's my worst nightmare.
I agree.
But I think I find I don't read my books again, and to be honest, I probably can't even remember what I wrote in previous books, going right back. So I think it would be hard, but I think, as my youngest always says, I'm everyone's favourite. I'm always going, no, you're not. We don't have favourites.
I tell all my favourites, and that the favourite changes on a daily basis depending on who's being a turd and who's not.
Yeah, that is so right.
But Susie says, can't wait to read. When's your next book out?
So, providing that my publisher doesn't pull her hair out over my next one, it should be out. So, Rowan's story is called Snowy Mountains Cattlemen, and it should be out the end of January, early February, if all goes according to plan.
Will they all have certain titles? And have you thought of the titles for all 4 of them?
Yes, I think the other 2 are Snowy Mountains Dawn and Snowy Mountains Promise. They might change, but I think that's my publisher likes those, and I did have a whole long list to choose from. So I think, I think unless I get inspiration for something else, but that's the thing. And the other 2 are planned. I probably will tweak them as I go, but I think Snowy Mountains Dawn and Snowy Mountains Promise with the last 2. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, so much. And special thanks to Alissa for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone reading my book and tuning in.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I said thank you so much to everyone for reading my book and also for tuning in, especially whoever came from the UK, because it must be early morning over there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, true.
Thanks for a lovely read. It was marvellous. And Rachael, well done sorting out our technical problems.
Yes.
I don't know what I did. It's all just trial and error. You did
really well. I checked out and made a hot cross bun.
I've done a hot cross bun now too. And everyone, have a lovely Easter.
Yes.
You too, Alissa.
Thank you. I will do.
Thanks heaps. All right. Bye, everyone.